Yo, I am clearly a young white blonde man. I'm from a privileged family. I mean, look at my room. It's fucking huge. I live in rural America, and I talk to people with very similar backgrounds, and some are more well off, some are not. But I've noticed something really, really interesting. As we begin to start working as a white working people, we are all upset with the government and we all feel alienated. But many of us vote and advocate against our own interests many times. And that's not to say we can vote our way out of this situation. We don't need to get into that. But to figure out why this is happening, you could take the easy liberal answer and say that they actually are voting for their interests. The white man voting for Trump is voting for themselves. It will benefit them. But I disagree. If you look at the actual proposed policy and ideas or solutions, you clearly see that the average working person, even white person, is not going to benefit from Donald Trump's policies, or really any conservative, neoliberal capitalist for that matter. You could blame this on Reagan and his supply side economics, the idea that lessening taxes on the rich will trickle down to the working class, but I believe that's also a cop out. It's a liberal cop out. Now, as a white man, I completely identify with the fact that white, upper middle class men are the most privileged in working society. But that doesn't truly matter if there's a class above them which not only controls their thinking, but the markets and all facets of their working life. All of these working people which do not own any sort of capital are oppressed in some way, including the white upper middle class man, myself. Now, the only difference is to the degree which you are oppressed. Obviously, I'm not as oppressed as a white, black, or not white, a black single mother that's trying to take care of their children. But in the grand scheme of things, I still am oppressed. When I work, my profits, the things I create, are still being sapped in some way. Anyone a part of the working class of people are in some way being exploited. And the degree to which this happens does not matter in the mind of a young white man looking into his future. All he sees is his own oppression. Sure, under this current system, the white working class man has a chance, a much higher one, albeit, to move up to the one which has control over us. The class which does nothing but take risks, as they'd say, and manage profits and direct money and industry in the way of making more profits. But as capitalism has further consolidated into the hands of a fewer and fewer percentage of people, this chance to become a part of that class gets lower. And the white working man sees that. They identify this problem. They want to be a part of the class which does nothing and acquires all. And by all means, they are coded from a young age to want this, myself included. Now, to me, this is not a noble aspiration. But the normal white man in America has his eyes set directly on that goal. And as capitalism marches on, it's clear to them that this is almost an impossibility. So, how should the white working man feel when his goal, albeit not being noble, is not only unattainable in their material reality, but even in theory? They can't even imagine themselves owning a casino, owning a fucking hotel, owning fucking Amazon, right? You can't imagine that. This paired with the liberal idea of giving only small platitudes to the less fortunate while making the white working man aware of his honestly slight privilege in the grand scheme of things, when considering the vast wealth of the real oppressors, can only create one outcome for the white working man, the young white working man: disconnection and alienation. You are told one thing, but in reality, you feel completely different. And even if, to the degree by which you are oppressed is less than others, you still feel oppressed. And all you have is your own mind. Now, if someone is to identify they are a part of a working class which is oppressed, and tell the white working man that they are not so different from, say, the black working class single mom struggling to pay her bills, the entire working people would have no choice but to unite under that notion. So the liberal elite must blame, must pin the blame on someone who is not themselves. And who better than the slightly privileged of the working people? This worked really well after the New Deal in the United States for the working man. Because, well, the working man could go so far under the New Deal and under the current system of capitalism that was happening. It was ever expanding and it was working for the white man. This has alienated the working white young man from the working black woman, which is exactly the goal. The working black woman sees a privileged, upset man who feels oppressed, which is ridiculous to her, who sees herself as more oppressed than the white man, which is true. The working white man, on the other hand, sees the woman as an obstacle to what his idea was growing up. Put your head down and work to reach comfort and permanent stability. Work to have to not work and get everything you need. The white working man sees the minorities in his class as an anchor, and the minorities see the white working man as their oppressor. In reality, the white young working man is only slightly more privileged than the black working woman. Yes, the life of the white working man has been easier for his entire life and probably will be, and his future looks brighter. But he sees that light, that bright light, only dimming. And though he can still see it, he knows it will burn out. And he believes that the minority is the one who's doing that. So then, the elite identify the working man and his dimming light and tell him the minority in your class is the one dimming that light. And you must step over them to turn it back on. They are anchoring you down. All the while, the elite themselves are the one dimming said light. I mean, look no further than Donald J. Trump in his campaign on mass deportation. He himself is friends with the entirety of the elite, which creates the problems which he identified for the white working man. But to solve this problem, he directs it back at the working man's own people. The black woman or man, the immigrant, the blue-haired, annoying-ass liberal, are the ones which are holding the white man back. And if they believe this, if they fall to make America great again, we must go back to when the white working man had a bright light, then there is no chance of a mass consciousness of the elite's destruction of the working class people. Now, I hope that sort of makes it more clear why young men are so conservative. I'm not saying myself, but we, as a young white working people, see that the people older than us had this beautiful, bright future where they could hold stocks and believe in the ever growth of capitalism. But to us, we see capitalism as only going down. Maybe you don't see that as capitalism going down. Maybe you see it as the world going down or human nature taking over or bad actors taking over. But at the end of the day, if you believe that we just need to go back to some perceived moment in time where the white people were not oppressed, but if the young white working man sees the minorities as an anchor, as a destructive force to what used to be a beautiful, bright future for the old people, the people who taught us, then how else are you supposed to be? You're supposed to be conservative. You're supposed to hate immigrants. You're supposed to hate black people. You're supposed to hate brown people. You're supposed to hate gay people because you are being told that your material reality is true. Your future is not bright. But it's not bright because of the people in your class. Now, if you haven't already gotten mad at me from this message as a young conservative man, then I'm gonna make you really mad. But I see the same thing with Nick Fuentes, and I just see it as Donald Trump basically 2.0. Nick Fuentes sees the disillusion with even the MAGA messaging. And so he takes that disillusion and alienation and directs it even more violently and further toward the people of your own class. Now, this is why Nick Fuentes is such a good orator. This is why he's funny. Is because he is talking in realities. The white working man is oppressed, but he's not oppressed by the black working woman. The white working man is oppressed by the white elite man, or even the black elite man. As industry and technology increases, our abilities are equalized. If we only identify things in the micro, where, okay, this person is below me, they're taking my house, then you just completely look past the true antagonisms of each class. You, as a group of people, are a working people. And whether or not you are less oppressed to a degree than, say, the black working woman, you still are united under one struggle, which is that there is an upper class that is telling you you have a future when in reality you clearly fucking don't. This is what's so frustrating to me when talking to young people who look like me, are from the same background as me. They genuinely believe that they are being oppressed by the people under them, or to the side of them, or maybe to slightly above them. But they never look to the fucking way above them. The billionaires, obviously, the elite, the people who control your mind, they control your advertising, they control the markets. They don't look to it because, well, the whole goal of them, the whole goal of the liberal elite is to make you never see this. If you never identify that you are a part of a class which is united under one struggle, you will never ever overcome the people who are truly, truly oppressing you. Now, I know there's probably going to be a lot of critique to what I just said, and I'm sure I'm talking from a place of privilege as a white man, but it is true. I am not as privileged as Donald Trump Jr. or Barron Trump, only because I wasn't born into the upper class. At the end of the day, I'm a part of the 99%, even if I'm less oppressed than the black working woman or the immigrant. It doesn't matter. It's the same struggle to varying degrees. And until we realize that, as young white men, you're always going to direct your anger at people who do not make your material lives worse. They are distracting you by pointing your valid anger, the anger you feel because you are oppressed, into a people who are more oppressed than you. I don't know. Think about it.